Hello, folks. Mr. Nelson here. All right, so today I'm going to talk through and more or less read to you what is included in this reproduction unit assessment that will be shared across all three of your classes. It'll be 20% of your quarter four grade for anatomy and physiology, for ELA, and for social issues. So after you watch this short video, you can go into the Google Classroom if you want to reread this document to yourself, but there are going to be some questions to follow in the Nearpod to make sure that you understood what's in this video before you do your major assessment for this self-paced Nearpod. There's two main quotes that we are guiding this project with that were sort of the inspiration for it. First is from James Baldwin. The price one pays for pursuing any profession or calling is an intimate knowledge of its ugly side. And one from the text that we read, although a later chapter than you were assigned to read, from Melinda Gates. It's the mark of a backward society, or a society moving backward, when decisions are made for women by men. So these are the two quotes that are framing this project we are going to have you spend the next 2 weeks working on. What you are doing is exploring an issue related to female empowerment in the field of reproductive health. And you're doing that by interviewing people who do this job for a living and can talk about the many issues related to reproductive health. And we're going to provide those interviews to happen during class on Thursday and Friday of this week. And then interviewing at least two women in your life that can share their experience with contraception and general reproductive care. And you're going to actually find those on your own. Now, that doesn't need to be a woman who's had a baby. Any woman who has consulted with a physician about contraceptives and birth control has had reproductive care administered to them. So this doesn't necessarily need to be someone who's gone into a hospital and delivered a baby, but it could be. Finally, you should be researching and giving the current and historical context for a chosen issue related to female empowerment, either the global history and context, or the national history and context, or the local history and context. So this could be really big, your issue. It could be really small. You could be talking about access to birth control in the city of Boston specifically, or you could be talking about in the world how the struggle to access contraceptives impacts women's income levels. Why we're doing this is because reproduction is one of the largest branches within the health and life sciences. Therefore, it's worth exploring as a potential career path to you. But reproductive health is something that touches every single person at some point in their life, or at several points throughout their life. I believe every single one of you was born at some point. Reproductive health is therefore necessary to seek a deeper, more intimate knowledge of the issues that are at the center of the field. Understanding family planning and general reproductive health issues is essential learning for everyone to understand, both from a scientific perspective, but also just from a human rights and moral perspective. This is an issue that touches all people's lives. And how you are going to do this exploration is teaching people what they need to know about your chosen issue by combining your interview notes, by combining the historical or global context, and combining all of that into either a long-form journalism article, and we'll provide some examples for people to look at for who choose to go down that route, or you can make a documentary video, and I'll show you an example of what that could look like that I made myself, or you could choose to make a second episode of your podcast using Anchor FM, and we'll listen to a podcast in this lesson that will give you an example of how that can look. So this is the rubric right here that you are going to be assessed on for this project. You'll notice there are 6 different criteria. We are going to assess you on the completeness of your project. Are you actually incorporating all your interview notes with the surrounding context or historical overview of this issue? How deep is the exploration that you provide? Are you informing us about multiple parts of this issue at different levels and blending those into a clear picture that makes it clear to us there are real implications for this issue? Is your author's voice at the center of this project? Are you aware of the audience and adapting how you speak, write, or talk in order to, well, speaking and talking are the same thing, I guess. Are you adapting how you speak or write in order to convince your audience of what they need to know about this issue? What about your research? Are you drawing on a wide range of relevant and important sources? This includes the people that you interview in order to present this picture. The language that you use. How does your word choice introduce both the storytelling of this issue and the technical language? Because we're talking about reproductive health, and this is a highly technical field, but there's also stories at the center of this. Do you provide natural, varied, and vivid pictures through the words you select? And are the sentences you write clear, complete, and of varying length? Do you have grammar, spelling, and punctuation that's appropriate to the form that you've chosen? Finally, production level. And this is the only category that is actually like we're going to look for different things in a podcast or documentary than we look for in a long form journalism. So if you choose to go the route of a podcast and a documentary for the exceeds expectations, we're talking about clear audio that establishes your voice. The transitions and music help build this and spice up this podcast, and the clips blend very smoothly into one another. As you all learn, that's very tricky to do, to have smooth transitions between clips. If you chose to go the route of an article, the paper should be properly formatted and cited following MLA formats, and I will provide resource guides to people who choose to go to the article route on how to write in MLA format and how to do proper citations, and it should be a minimum of 3 pages. The thing we're going to do in a second is you are going to jump into this New Yorker Radio Hour program that came out last year called Keeping Released Prisoners Safe and Sane. Why you're going to listen to this right now for today's class to introduce you to this project is because it's an excellent example of someone who blends together the context about an important issue, and they do it with an interview that they've done with both mental health professionals and mental health patients. Basically, this is what we're asking you to do, only they do it about mental health issues, and we're going to ask you to do about reproductive health. What the program is you are going to explore, the podcast explores something that came up in the first couple of months of the pandemic. Prisoners were just being released from prison to help them stop the spread of COVID. The podcaster journalist follows a psychiatrist and a social worker, as well as many of the released prisoners who were just getting out of jail at the time. And they were exploring what does this mean for them, and how does it connect to larger trends of what's going on in our country. And how you're going to do it is this asynchronous lesson that you're currently completing, where you'll listen to the podcast, and then there will be some questions that follow. All right, so good luck with that. There's, on the next slide, some questions that make sure you understood what I just asked you. You can answer those, and if you want to go back and reread some of the things I just went over, you can click on this right here. The only thing I just left out is that what is on this third page here, which is the calendar that has every part of this assignment and when it's due by. All right, good luck, everyone.